So Wolper had the my favorite office at Warner Brothers because it was like never updated from like the 50s or 60s. And he had a conference table. He did you ever go to his office?
I never did. No, I know where the building is though, because
So
he had that the sign with the logo with the circles and the arrow through it.
yeah, I saw him one day and I was talking to him about how much I love the movie Bridget Remagen, which is like a World War II film, but it feels like a
Yeah,
Vietnam film when you look at it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
And the next day he left a signed pictorial biography on his life for me. That he and in it was a golden ticket from Wonka because he produced Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
And but his office had this vintage conference table with the phone built in to the chair at the head of the table.
No
It was
kidding.
literally built into the like it was like a Bond villain thing from like the 60s.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that going, I love the fact that no one has ripped any of this stuff out and updated it. This is like the office that you would think Sinatra would have you know,
Well, I wonder if it's something
unreal.
he might have inherited from Jack Warner, because Jack Warner
Possibly.
was there up until I think the last movie he produced, I think, at Warner Brothers when he was with Warner Brothers was Camelot, but he was still
Yeah.
there until they did the changeover to Seven Arts, which was Bullet and a couple of other movies. And then he stayed there as an independent producer, and was there when he did 1776 for Columbia.
Yeah, that's where you met him, right?
And that
That's where
was
you met
right
Warner.
before, yeah, and that was right before Columbia um, sold their studio at Sunset Gower and then came to Warner Brothers and they created the Burbank Studios as a joint venture.
So that makes sense. Maybe not Jack Warner, but definitely one of the Warner brothers in a way, because it was in that building, building one, right? That's building one that's against the cul-de-sac out front, right off Olive, right?
Well, building two is main administration. Building one
Isn't that where Horn
is
was? Was
right
that
next to
one?
it.
Yeah.
No, he was in two.
He was in two. Ah, it's been a while, but
That's the
and then of course,
otherwise the Daly Semmel building.
that's right. That's
Daily
right.
Semmel. Right, no,
That's
yeah.
right.
Daily Semmel
Yes,
building.
the Daily building. But
I love Terry Semmel though. I mean, he
oh,
deserves to have a building named after him.
for sure he does, especially given what he gave to the business. But also, next to that was Section 8 with Clooney and Steve Soderbergh. So it was like that was where Wolper was. He was kind of buried in that, like by
Yeah.
Doug Frank, the
Yeah.
music guy.
Yeah. Doug and oh yeah, Doug. Yeah, Doug was in building one, eventually
Yeah.
moved over to building one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where he was. You know what? It's funny. I loved it because everyone was so into like this modernism and this modern vibe, but you would walk into Wolper's office and you just expected to see like Steve McQueen asleep on the couch.
Right.
It had that kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the days, man. Those are some fun.
Well, Steve McQueen's company, First Artists, he, Paul Newman, Barbara
Yeah,
Streisand, and Sidney Poitier owned was Building 102, which is where Donner ended up.
that's right. The
The first time
famous.
I went to Warner Brothers in 1978, I want to say, no, I mean, that's not the first time I went to Warner Brothers, but I remember going there in the 70s before I started working there. Um, First time I went there was 1971. That's when I
Right.
met Jack Warner. Um, but I remember going over there in 1978 for a screening it must have been Building 66 or Screening Room 5, and you had to walk past there. It's probably Screening Room 5,
Yeah.
and you had to walk past there, and they had the big sign, First Artists, right there. And I never forgot that. And then when I started working there, and the um, the actual office inside there is where Frank Sinatra's company was. The actual offices for First Artists were there. And
Right.
then those outer offices coming out were all cutting rooms for the Last Boy Scout. And Steve Perry had his office there. He was the unit manager on that movie, and he'd done a lot of stuff with Donner and with especially with Joel Silver. So Joel was in Building 90, right behind it as you're looking at 102.
Yeah. I met Perry. Our building was 66, if I
Yes, you
remember
were
right. We were
66. Screening Room 12 was there.
screening room 12.
That's why I did all the action movies print
Yeah.
checking in there.
As loud as you could.
Yes,
Yeah.
in
This was
STDS so that the
yes.
subwoofers were going.
So every couple of days, it felt like we were having an earthquake drill in Building 66, and it was actually
Yep.
just Bill upstairs, like
It
cranking
was
up.
me getting back at the receptionist.
Yeah, as one would.
Hi there, everybody. Voice actor Roger Craig Smith here to talk to you about NMOSD. It can paralyze you, it can blind you, it can even kill you in a matter of minutes, but we are very close to a cure. And with that cure could come a cure for cancer. So please go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation and donate today. Appreciate it.